The mission was falling apart until she took the sniper's rifle and changed History Watch till the end for the unbelievable twist that changed everything. The sun baked down over jagged Afghan ridges, heat shimmering against steel and sand. Dust choked the valley as 3 armored MRAPs crawled down a broken road, each wheel grinding over gravel that carried too many ghosts. Ethan Cole, 30 years old, Navy SEAL sniper, sat high on the rear turret, his rifle resting across his lap like an old companion. His jaw bore a faint scar, his eyes cold, scanning ridgelines with the patience only a sniper knew. Every rise, every shadow, every misplaced glint of metal, measured, logged, judged. He had warned them the route was compromised. The intel screamed ambush, but Captain Richard Vance, in the lead vehicle, had waved him off with the same entitled smirk he'd worn since deployment. Vance was an officer born of privilege, not scars. To men like him, Ethan was just a trigger puller. Ethan's hands stayed loose but ready. His gut tightened when he saw the flicker. Light off glass, too sharp, too sudden. Contact, ridge. 12 o'clock, he barked. Negative, Vance drawled back. No movement confirmed. Stay sharp. Don't spook the men. Ethan spotted the second flash. Then the desert exploded. A rocket-propelled grenade slammed into the lead MRAP. Fire ripped outward, shockwave tearing the valley apart. Screams followed. The convoy stopped dead. Bullets rained down, tracers streaking red. Ethan dropped prone on the roof, scope up. The world slowed. He squeezed, shifted, squeezed again. Each shot dropped a figure, but the fire didn't slow. They were boxed in, kill zone locked. Vance's voice cracked over comms. Push through, keep moving. Ethan fired again. Teeth gritted. Engines are shot. If we don't flank, we're done. Vance's pale face twisted with rage. I give the orders here, Cole. Another explosion tore the rear vehicle apart. Smoke, blood, chaos. Ethan's voice cut colder than steel. Your orders are gonna bury us. The mission had begun its spiral, and nothing would end the way command expected. CTA, what did you think of this opening? If you stand with our veterans, type TheBlackShadow and let me know. Smoke hung thick. Ethan kept firing from the MRAP roof, while soldiers scrambled for cover. Captain Vance stumbled into open ground, dust and panic painting his pale skin. Push forward, he shouted, desperation cracking his tone. We clear the kill zone by advancing. Ethan slid down, rifle still firing, voice flat with fury. Push forward into another ambush, sir, and you'll have nothing left to command. We flank or we die. Vance spat the words, You're a shooter. Do your job. Ethan leaned close, low and lethal. My job is keeping these men alive. Yours is playing politics. Gunfire stitched the dirt between them. Men screamed as another RPG detonated. Ethan pointed toward soldiers crouched nearby. Look, they're not looking at you anymore. They're waiting on me. 3 soldiers echoed. Copy, Cole. Vance froze. Authority was bleeding out of him. Ethan had stepped into the vacuum. Through smoke and chaos, Lena Torres moved. 28, Puerto Rican, her warm tan skin streaked. With blood and dust, shoulder-length black hair tied back under her helmet. She wasn't a sniper. She was a medic. Yet her eyes burned with soldier's focus. She dragged a wounded corporal behind cover, hands steady as bullets tore into metal. Stay with me, Marine, she barked, pressure dressing firm, voice louder. Then fear. Ethan covered her with precision fire, then dropped beside her. You should have stayed in the rear echelon, her dark eyes cut into him. And you should stop assuming I need saving. You watch my flank, I'll keep your men breathing. For a moment amid hellfire, they shared a nod. Not romance, not yet, but trust, the rarest currency in war. CTA. If you believe in medics and warriors standing side by side, type TheBlackShadow. The firefight dragged long into dusk. Reinforcements hadn't come. Ethan scanned the ridge, jaw tightening as he recognized the gait of a shooter across the way. Daniel Briggs, early 30s, Marine sniper. Once Ethan's brother in arms. Same. Tan skin, buzz-cut blonde hair, rifle tucked into his shoulder with familiar precision. But his scope wasn't trained on the enemy. It was aimed at Ethan's convoy. Ethan's breath caught. Memory flashed. Training runs, shared cigarettes, whispered confessions of fear. Now, betrayal. Briggs, he muttered under his breath. The man's cold eyes met his through two scopes, like ghosts recognizing each other. No words carried across the battlefield, but the betrayal hit sharper than shrapnel. Ethan knew Briggs wasn't here by accident. Night fell, orange firelight painting twisted wrecks. Ethan crouched by Lena, his voice low. 3 years ago, mission in Kunar province. Vance called the shots. Intel was wrong. We hit a village. Civilians. Friendly fire. He covered it. Buried the bodies. The reports. Briggs was there. He never forgave it. Lena's hands froze over a bandage. So Briggs is aiming at us because to him, we're the traitors. We killed his brothers. He wants blood. They both looked toward Vance, still hiding behind wreckage, trembling. Lena whispered, "And he still commands this convoy." The night pressed close, silence heavier than mortars. Truth had shattered their mission. CTA. If truth matters more than rank, type TheBlackShadow. By dawn, 2 vehicles were gone, smoke coiling skyward. Ethan's leg bled from shrapnel, his rifle slick with dust. Vance clutched the comms, begging for extraction that never came. "We can't hold," one soldier cried. Lena snapped back. "We don't hold, we adapt. Cole, where's our break?" Ethan gritted his teeth, scanning the ridges. "If we take the east rise, cut through the rocks, we can flank out. But it means leaving the vehicle, and it means fighting Briggs head-on." Vance shouted, "Unacceptable. Those are government assets." Ethan spat blood. "Men aren't assets. Their lives." The convoy was crumbling. Ethan knew they had one chance left, and his body was failing him. The ambush leader's men closed in. Ethan's vision blurred, blood soaking his leg. His rifle felt heavy. Lena knelt beside him, hands trembling. "What do I do?" He pushed the sniper rifle into her hands. "Breathe. Slow. Trust the math. 1 shot." She steadied, shoulders snug against the stock, her medic's hands adapting to a sniper's craft. Ethan's voice guided her like ghostly cadence. "Inhale. Hold. Exhale halfway. Squeeze. Don't pull." Crosshairs steadied. The ambush leader's silhouette rose against the ridge. She squeezed. The shot cracked, echoing like judgment. The man dropped. Silence rippled across the battlefield. Ethan's lips curved in the faintest smile. "You just changed history, CTA. If you believe one act of courage can turn the tide, type TheBlackShadow." Dawn broke clean. Smoke lifted. The convoy limped out, fewer in number but alive. Briggs had vanished into the mountains, betrayal unanswered. Vance sat silent, stripped of all command by his cowardice. Ethan leaned on Lena's shoulder, exhaustion carving lines in his face. She carried the rifle now, its weight hers as much as his. At the rally point, soldiers gathered, eyes no longer on rank but on survival, on the medic who had pulled the trigger when history demanded it. Ethan whispered to her, voice hoarse, "You were the shadow they never saw coming." Above them, the flag lifted in desert wind. Not triumph, not glory, just survival, and a bond forged in fire that no command could erase. The legend of the Black Shadow had begun. The sun had climbed high, searing the valley with relentless light. Smoke still curled from the wrecks, the smell of diesel and blood hanging thick. Ethan Cole sat propped against a broken wall, his leg bandaged by Lena Torres's precise hands. Sweat traced down his scarred jaw, his pale lips pressed tight, but his eyes remained locked on the horizon, sniper sharp even in pain. Captain Vance stumbled near the convoy, his once starched uniform coated in dust and shame. He shouted at the few surviving soldiers, "You'll answer for abandoning vehicles. Do you know the value of this equipment?" No one looked at him. Their eyes shifted toward Ethan, who, despite his wound, had steadied them through fire. Lena rose, her tan skin streaked with soot, helmet shadowing her sharp gaze. She spoke, voice calm but cutting. "They followed the only man who gave them a chance to live." "You lost that right," a corporal muttered under his breath. "Sir, with all due respect, you're not in command anymore." Vance's pale face twisted, veins pulsing at his temple. He stepped toward Ethan, spit flying with every word. "You undermined me! You think pulling a trigger makes you a leader?" Ethan's voice came low, steady as a rifle shot. "No, keeping men alive does." Silence spread like a verdict. Even the desert wind seemed to pause. Lena's dark eyes caught Ethan's, fierce yet tender, as if silently telling him he wasn't carrying this weight alone. She shifted her M4 across her chest, but the sniper rifle remained slung at her back. Her presence beside Ethan wasn't just medical now, it was tactical, equal. The men rallied, forming a protective semicircle around Ethan and Lena, leaving Vance standing alone, his authority stripped clean. Above them, the sky stretched wide and merciless, promising more battles ahead. And somewhere in those ridges, Daniel Briggs was still out there, scope-trained, waiting for unfinished business. The mission wasn't over. It was evolving into something darker, personal, inevitable. Night pressed heavy over the desert, the ridge's jagged black teeth against a blood-red horizon. The convoy survivors had formed a defensive circle, rifles angled outward, eyes restless. Ethan Cole lay back, against a sandbag, his wound stitched tight by Lena Torres's steady hands. Every so often, his sniper's gaze flicked toward the dark ridgeline, reading shadows the way other men read maps. He felt it before he saw it. Movement, a silhouette crouched against the rocks. The weight of betrayal pressed on his chest like the recoil of a rifle. Daniel Briggs. Briggs descended the slope with predatory calm, rifle slung low. His blonde buzz cut glowed pale in the moonlight, his tan skin stretched tight over a face hardened by fury. He stopped 50 yards out, well, within range if he'd wanted to take the shot. But he didn't. He wanted to speak. "You left me," Briggs's voice carried across the sand, sharp as glass. "Kunar Province. You followed orders, Ethan. You fired. And you knew damn well those weren't hostiles." Ethan forced himself upright, pain throbbing in his leg. His voice was steady, heavy with regret. "We both fired. We were soldiers under command. And you know it." Briggs's eyes narrowed, teeth bared. "No, I know you chose survival over truth, and now you hide behind them." He jabbed a finger toward Lena and the soldiers, like some savior. "You don't get redemption, Cole. You get judgment." Lena stepped forward, her helmet catching a streak of moonlight, eyes sharp, rifle across her chest. "He doesn't owe you judgment. He's been carrying it every damn day since." Briggs's gaze slid to her, cold, calculating. "And who are you? A medic who thinks a single lucky shot makes her a sniper? You're just another pawn in his war." Her jaw tightened, but her voice stayed calm. "I don't miss when it matters." The silence thickened, soldiers gripping rifles tighter, waiting for the trigger to break it. Ethan's breath came slow, calculating distance, wind, terrain, every sniper instinct alive. He read Briggs's stance, the twitch in his fingers, a standoff carved in shadow. Finally Briggs smirked, a predator's promise. "Tomorrow, Cole, when the sun rises, we settle this the only way men like us know how." He melted back into the ridges, swallowed by night. Lena knelt beside Ethan, her hand pressing lightly on his bandage. Her whisper trembled but carried steel. "He's not just coming for you. He's coming for all of us." Ethan looked at her, eyes burning with resolve. "Then tomorrow, we finish what should have ended years ago." The desert wind howled like an omen. Dawn crept over the desert, bleeding gold light across jagged stone. The convoy survivors crouched, low, rifles ready, eyes locked on the eastern ridge where Daniel Briggs had promised his return. Every man felt the weight of silence, the kind that smothered the air before the first shot of an execution. Ethan Cole steadied his breathing, though. Every muscle in his leg screamed. He lay prone with his rifle stretched out, the familiar scope pressed to his scarred brow. Beside him, Lena Torres mirrored his posture, her dark eyes unflinching, the sniper rifle braced against her shoulder. She wasn't a medic now. She was his partner on the line. "Wind's cutting left," Ethan whispered, voice calm as if teaching her a lesson on the range. "Adjust 2 clicks. Don't chase the target. Let him walk into you." She nodded, exhaling steady, her hand sure. The first shot cracked from the ridges above, dirt exploding inches from Ethan's chest. Briggs had made his opening move. "Shift," Ethan barked. He rolled, dragging Lena with him behind a shattered wall. The squad spread, returning fire into the rocks, muzzle flashes sparking against dawn light. Briggs's voice echoed across the canyon, mocking, cold. "Come on, Cole. Where's that perfect shot you were famous for? Or did the medic steal your trigger hand?" Ethan's teeth clenched, eyes narrowing through pain. He grabbed the comms, barking orders with sniper precision. "Bravo team, suppress fire left flank. Delta, shift right, 2x2 leapfrogs. Torres, you're with me. We cut the middle." The soldiers obeyed without hesitation. Lena stayed glued to Ethan's side as they crawled through rubble, rifles tucked tight, breaths shallow. Every step forward was calculated, every pause timed to suppressing bursts overhead. They reached a narrow cut in the ridge. Ethan lifted 2 fingers, signaling her to hold. He slid forward, scope scanning. A shadow shifted. A trap. Briggs wasn't shooting wild. He was hurting them, just like in training. Ethan whispered back, "He's drawing fire, pushing us into the choke." Lena's grip tightened on the rifle. Her voice was low, fierce. "Then we don't play his game. We set our own." For a moment, Ethan stared at her, a flicker of pride cutting through the chaos. She wasn't just surviving, she was thinking tactically. "All right," he breathed. "We bait him instead." Ethan rose just enough to flash movement, drawing Briggs's shot. The crack rang out, a bullet carving stone an inch from his skull. In that split second, Lena leaned out from cover, scope steady, crosshairs settling on the faint silhouette of Briggs's position. She didn't fire. Not yet. She whispered, "I want him to see me, to know who's pulling the trigger." Her eyes burned with something deeper than duty, resolve born of trust, of carrying a burden Ethan once bore alone. The battle was no longer just Ethan's, it was theirs, and when the sun cleared the horizon, the final shot of the war between brothers would be fired. The desert ridge glowed with the full light of morning, shadows stripped bare. Every stone, every grain of sand seemed sharpened, as if the land itself held its breath. Ethan Cole lay prone against jagged rock, his chest rising slow, deliberate, every breath measured like the last rounds in his magazine. Beside him, Lena. Torres steadied the sniper rifle. Her eyes narrowed, her pulse a drum she'd learned to silence. Across the canyon, Daniel Briggs revealed himself at last. He stood half-exposed on a crag, his rifle tucked to his shoulder, blonde buzz cut catching, the sun like a crown of steel. His pale blue eyes locked on Ethan, not wavering. 3 years, Cole," his voice carried, raw with fury. 3 years I've waited to balance the scale." Ethan's jaw clenched. "This isn't justice, Briggs. It's execution." Briggs laughed once, cold, hollow. "Justice is a bullet that finds the right heart. Yours." The canyon erupted. Briggs fired first, a sniper's crack tearing through the air. Stones splintered inches from Ethan's face. In the same breath, Ethan returned fire, his round slamming Briggs back a step. But the man didn't fall. He steadied, blood soaking his sleeve, eyes burning hotter. Lena pressed forward, rifle tight. "I've got him," she whispered. Ethan shook his head, sweat cutting through the dust on his scarred cheek. "No, he came for me. This ends with me." But Briggs's scope shifted. Not on Ethan now, but on Lena. "She's your weakness," he called, voice venomous. "I take her, and you'll know what it feels like to lose everything." Time fractured. Ethan's world narrowed to one decision, one trigger. Lena, steady despite the threat, whispered, "Trust me." She slid her cheek against the stock, her breath controlled, her eyes locked into the scope. Briggs's figure filled her crosshairs as he raised for the kill. Ethan's voice guided her, soft, unshakable. "Exhale. Squeeze." Her finger pressed, the rifle bucked, and the shot cut the world clean in half. Briggs staggered. His rifle slipped. His eyes widened in disbelief as crimson spread across his chest. He stumbled once, then collapsed into the sand, the echo of his fall swallowed by silence. The ridge went still. The ambush was broken. Lena lowered the rifle, hands trembling only now. Ethan pushed himself upright, wincing with pain, but eyes burning with something fierce, pride. "You didn't just save me. You ended the war," he carried. She met his gaze, her dark eyes steady. "No, Ethan, we ended it together." The surviving soldiers gathered around, their faces etched with exhaustion, relief, and something deeper. Respect. Not for Vance, who stood apart, pale and silent, but for the two who had fought side by side when the mission had already fallen apart. Above the canyon, the American flag patch on Ethan's torn uniform caught the wind. Not triumph, not glory, just Survival carved into legend. The story of the Black Shadow was no longer his alone. It was theirs.